Sometimes I lay awake at night and wonder as I stare at the stars. Is it possible for me to be absolutely in love with a movie that pretty much everyone else has condemned as being a piece of crap? It's a tough question. The answer is, of course, I don't give a crap. The popular opinion can suck it.
Warm, fuzzy secret hearts, cold monkey like you.
So Winter's Tale marks the directorial debut of famed writer Akiva Goldsman. What is Winter's Tale about? Well, it's very hard for me to say. Not because I don't know, but because revealing too much would spoil the movie for you, because every detail of this movie is important to its story. So that being said, I'm just going to keep it simple and try to describe some of the elements this film has to offer. Winter's Tale is a modern-day fantasy about love, hope, and our willingness to believe in miracles. There's a man with an ambition to fix everything, a romance, a sick woman who can see everything connected by light, angels, a dog of the east who appears as a white horse, demon mobsters, a lapse across time, and yeah, anything else would pretty much be a spoiler. Describing this movie is such a pain in my ass because, like I said, every detail is important, and I don't want to ruin Winter's Tale for you because I love Winter's Tale to fucking pieces. This is one of the most original films I have ever seen, and yes, I know it's based on a book, but in terms of this as a film, I have never seen anything quite like this. However, unlike a movie like Transcendence, where I just can't understand the hatred towards it, with this movie, I can understand to an extent. This film is definitely not for everyone. If you don't like movies that are incredibly unpredictable and at times very hard to follow, this is not for you. This movie was so hard to follow at times because you never knew where the hell it was going to go with its story, but that's what I loved about it. Just like with Transcendence, I was able to use my brain. It balances being a fantasy, a romance, a comedy, a horror film, and a drama very nicely. At times, the tone of the film will shift rather quickly, but never once where I was personally bothered by it. But perhaps that can be contributed to the amazing performances by our two main leads. And when I say amazing, I mean I have not seen better chemistry between two actors all year. Colin Farrell as Peter Lake and Jessica Brown Findlay as Beverly have wonderful chemistry in this film. In any other film, their relationship probably wouldn't be believable, due to the fact that they don't know each other that long before they get together. However, in this film, it does work, because the dialogue spoken between these two is so believable that it's kind of hard not to get sucked into these two characters. You care what happens to them. And the performances by these two actors only gets better as the relationship grows. Farrell and Findlay have crafted and sold a solid, believable romance that was absolutely worth being invested in. Now, Russell Crowe was an incredibly cartoony bad guy in this movie. And his voice sounded like a cross between a leprechaun and Popeye. But I'm sorry, he's fucking awesome. He hams this performance up to the max and has a ball with it every step of the way. It is clear he was having such a great time playing this character. And when he gets evil, sometimes, yeah, it's funny to watch, but other times, it's downright frightening. The scene in the film when he first encounters and talks to Beverly gave me chills, not just because of what he was saying to her, but how he was saying it. It was really creepy. Jennifer Connelly plays a reporter whose daughter is dying of cancer, and sadly, we really don't see much of them. I would have liked to see a little more of them, but they're in the film enough where the third act still works fine. Now folks, I'm from New York. Born and raised. In the trailer park is where I spent most of my days. But in all seriousness, as a New Yorker, I loved the way New York was shown in this movie. It is shot beautifully. The effects and set designs in Winter's Tale create a world that is just so richly engrossing. The world of Winter's Tale was a world I loved being in. The movie could have just kept going for all I cared, because by the time it was over, I just wanted to watch it again. The writer-director of this film is Akiva Goldsman, who I don't think is that bad a writer, but when he writes a bad screenplay, it is notoriously bad. This is the guy who gave us gems like The Client, A Time to Kill, The Da Vinci Code, A Beautiful Mind, Cinderella Man, and yeah, even Batman Forever, which was not a gem by any stretch, but was still entertaining despite Joel Schumacher's obnoxious direction. But sadly, Goldman has also given us Lost in Space, I, Robot, I Am Legend, and yes, Batman and Robin. Y'all knew that was coming. Yeah, get it out of your system, folks. Again, when he writes something bad, it's notoriously bad, but when he writes something good, it is fucking good, if not great. Winter's Tale is no exception to the latter. Do you have to suspend your disbelief in Winter's Tale? Yes, on several occasions. But to enjoy it, you need to take the film for what it is. It is a fantasy first and a romance second. Whoever marketed this film should be shot. It should have been marketed as a fantasy, not just a romance. I like suspending disbelief in fantasy because that's what fantasy is all about. To let your mind wander, to let your imagination run wild, to let your creativity shine. It's something that I personally feel has been lost in the movie industry a lot lately, because so many writers, directors, and producers are more interested in making money than they are in making art. That is what Winter's Tale is. It is an entirely unique and engrossing work of art. Martin Scorsese had actually planned on doing an adaptation of Winter's Tale a few years back, but abandoned the project, ultimately stating that the book was unfilmable. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how close this adaptation was to its source material. I can only judge it as a movie, and overall, as a movie, I was moved, I was entertained, and I was engrossed in the sheer heart and originality that the film offered. In a time where we're getting nothing but remakes, sequels, and utter poison, it's more than welcoming to see a film lay it out on the line and do something new. Winter's Tale is a gorgeously acted, directed, and written film. It's one of my favorite movies of the year thus far. I love it to pieces. Overall rating, A+.